So here we are then, Game Week 12 is just about upon us and international break is finally over. So we can start planning those transfers for Game Week 12. So who should we be buying, who should we be holding, and who should we look to sell this week? So if you do like this video, please hit the like button, subscribe if you are new, and let's get straight into the video. So as always then, let's start with the transfers in and the strikers. And it's two players that seem to be on this list most weeks at the moment. There isn't a great pool to pick from when it comes to the forward line, but Thiago is up there, certainly because of the price point mainly, but some fantastic fixtures incoming with Brighton away and Burnley at home. And because of that price point, he's one of those ones that enables you to put that money elsewhere in your squad, like the midfield, into the defence maybe. And he puts up great numbers as well. Great XG per 90 of 0.57. And he's just been a nice, consistent option throughout the season. His goals are well spread out. And definitely going forward, I think he should be one of the cheaper enablers that we should be looking at. Him along with Danny Welbeck, who is also on the radar. I just prefer Thiago, certainly for security of minutes, compared to somebody like Danny Welbeck, who has put up great minutes himself recently, but you've always got those injury doubts in the back of your mind. He could pick up an injury at any moment due to his history with those injuries, and that being the main caveat, I prefer Thiago in that case. I also like Jean-Philippe Mateta, like a lot of people. You've got a fixture run coming up, which has got some... it's unfortunate it is 3 away games in the next 4, but some nice fixtures nonetheless. And probably those 3 away games, if you had to handpick those away games, they would be something similar to this, with Wolves away, Burnley away and Fulham away. It doesn't really get too much better than that in the Premier League at the moment. And caveat that with the fantastic form that Mateta has showed. It was a very slow start to his Premier League season, but after that he's certainly upped his numbers and putting up a fantastic XG per 90 for the season. Certainly outside of Erling Haaland, I think these are the two we should be looking at, certainly bringing into our teams anyway. Then in the midfield, then I do like Bryan Mbeumo as one of your midfielders to target to bring in. Going back to the fixtures as always, and Manchester United look really good in the near future with Everton at home, Crystal Palace away, then a lovely one with West Ham at home and Wolves away after that. It is Bournemouth at home after that also, but Bournemouth playing really well this season, but I wouldn't really worry about that too much with obviously United being at home. It's a really lovely fixture run. Bryan Mbeumo has really picked up as the season's gone on. A slow start, bit like I said, like Mateta, is a slow start for Mbeumo as well. But ever since he really clicked, he hasn't stopped clicking with some real impressive numbers really, and certainly in recent weeks. And he's somebody I would prefer in that Manchester United team, certainly over Cunha. It's a debate who you prefer out of him or Fernandes. For me, I just like the upside with Bryan Mbeumo at the moment because he is playing so well. Yes, Bruno Fernandes has penalties, but it's just that deeper position he has been taking up recently. There's likelihood for Matheus Cunha to be playing in the attacking role, that sole striker role, with Benjamin Sesko's injury. But I still like Bryan Mbeumo. I just think I think the numbers don't lie. I believe it's 1 Premier League goal, no assist for Matheus Cunha so far for Manchester United. Obviously there's been a few injuries in that as well, but I feel like it's a no-brainer if you're comparing him to Cunha. And then Ismail Assar is my other midfield option, somebody who does put up pretty impressive XG per 90 considering he isn't on penalties, and then again taking advantage of those good away fixtures for Crystal Palace coming up in the near future. That's another route into that Crystal Palace attack, which is just performing really well. And then probably the most important area going into this week is that defence, and obviously I will get into it in the transfers out, but the news of Gabriel's potential injury. So I did focus these transfers more on the replacements for Gabriel, and I think number one, with a bullet, due to fantastic fixtures certainly coming up for Liverpool, is Virgil van Dijk. Nottingham Forest at home is just looking like one of those good fixtures so far this season. And then after that, you've got West Ham away, which is probably one of the best away grounds to go to at the moment. Sunderland at home, maybe not quite as easy as it would have been when you looked at it at the start of the season with the fantastic form Sunderland's in, but certainly still a game that at Anfield Liverpool would be expecting to put Sunderland to the sword in that one. Leeds away after that, and then Brighton and Hove Albion at home. Virgil van Dijk, there is that little bit of attacking threat there. He was unfortunate not to get a goal, obviously, in the last game against Manchester City, and he has scored a couple in the Champions League already this season. It just hasn't translated quite into the Premier League, but I'm sure those attacking returns will be coming for Virgil van Dijk. Obviously, a great defensive contribution monster as well, with his defensive contributions per 90 just knocking on the door of 11 per game. And at 5.9 million, very popular this week. That will probably rise come Friday, Saturday to 6 million. He's a good replacement for somebody like Gabriel. The other option, of course, is to stay with Arsenal, which I have no issues with that as well because of how good that Arsenal defence is. And I still think that Arsenal defence will be very good in the upcoming weeks. Even with a slight fixture swing, they're a little bit more difficult. And without Gabriel in that defence, I still think it's solid enough to keep those clean sheets in the coming weeks. So you might look to transfer Gabriel straight out to somebody like Jurriën Timber if you haven't already got him. He's probably the next best thing. He's probably got the best attacking return, the best attacking potential alongside Gabriel for me. Defensive contributions probably won't be there, but you're probably looking just for those nailed clean sheets with the Arsenal defence, nailed for minutes, which he has been all season, and like I say, those that bit of attacking return. So now let's move on to the players that we should be holding for game week 12. So in the striker position then, I want to start with Nick Voltemade at Newcastle. It's not the ideal fixture for him this week with Manchester City at home. Nick Voltemade is the second highest transferred out player this week already. And I don't completely buy into that. I think Newcastle at home are as competitive as anybody, and they can compete with just about anybody when they are at home, and I think they're going to be giving Manchester City a very difficult game. Following that, you've then got Everton away, Tottenham at home and Burnley at home, so there is some good fixtures on the horizon after that for Newcastle as well. Obviously, before the international break, you had 2 blanks in a row for Nick Voltemade. Then just immediately before the international break, he stopped that run with the assist. It's not ideal, but it was a 5-pointer, and it did repay a little bit of faith that owners had in him. But then it goes away on international break, and he gets 3 goals in the 2 games for Germany. And it shows that he is still in fantastic form, and I would look and hope he can carry that form back to his club team, Newcastle, and continue to score in the Premier League. So for me, I feel Nick Voltemade is definitely not an essential transfer, and he's actually somebody I'd look to be holding, and I will be holding myself. Then we've got João Pedro. It's an interesting one. There's an influx of people only a few weeks ago that all took the chance to jump off João Pedro, move him to another player, like it was Nick Voltemade for some people, Mateta, Thiago. And then in peak FPL, he's gone and punished us all with 2 returns in 2 games, 2 goals as well. So off the back of that, he has increased his XG per 90. It was just before that, I remember it sticking at about 0.19 per game, which was really poor for a striker at a top team like Chelsea. Now it's at a more respectable 0.37, and he has been a lot more involved in the last 2 games. And then you now look, he's got Burnley away. If you have held him and you've got those 2 returns, well done to you. And to be honest, it's a great reason to continue holding him and take advantage of that Burnley away fixture now and hope for the best there. Obviously, Arsenal at home after that isn't ideal, but there are some green fixtures tied in with those red ones. So for the foreseeable, and maybe play it by week by week, I would think holding João Pedro would make the most sense, most certainly. Then I wanted to talk about the midfield, and I have gone Liverpool heavy on the midfield. I want to start off with Cody Gakpo. So those of you holding a player like Cody Gakpo, obviously rotation is a huge risk, especially with Wirtz now being deployed a bit more on that left wing, and it starts to eat into Gakpo's minutes, and Wirtz has even started ahead of him. If you're still there though holding Cody Gakpo, I would still be very tempted to hold him going into this week because of that fantastic run of fixtures Liverpool have. Nottingham Forest at home is a fixture to target. West Ham is probably away, is most definitely a fixture to target. And if I'm sat here holding Cody Gakpo, I would certainly look to utilise him in those fixtures. And he does put up pretty decent numbers, to be honest, similar to Brian and Burmo's numbers with 0.34 XG per 90 and 0.22 XA per 90. It's really good. They're good numbers from a relatively medium-priced midfielder. So certainly going forward, I would probably just hope that he does start the next game against Nottingham Forest, and then just go from there. Play it week by week again with Cody Gakpo. And then I put Mohamed Salah in here because those of you who are still holding Mohamed Salah, I think it's, again, because of this fixture run of Liverpool, you've held him through all this very difficult period, and you've got this far with him. Now, this is where you should be getting your rewards during this fixture run. There will be a time to get rid of him very soon when he goes off to play for Egypt in AFCON. But right now, I would be looking to take advantage of those fixtures. Certainly keeping Mo Salah if you can. And I would even like to have him on the buy list, but I think because of his price point and most of us want to keep Erling Haaland, I couldn't quite justify just sticking Mohamed Salah on that buy list. But certainly if you think you can afford him and find a reasonable way of affording him without maybe taking a hit, I would certainly look to even buy Mohamed Salah for these upcoming fixtures as well. Then let's move on to the defence. Obviously a lot of talk about the Arsenal defence this week, but Calafiori, another player that picked up a bit of an injury away on international duty with Italy, but all signs point to him potentially being fit. That's not fully confirmed, but a lot of sources have said that it's likely he will be fit for the Tottenham game this weekend. So I would look to certainly keep Calafiori and stay tied into that Arsenal defence as it is so solid. And I wouldn't be looking to offload somebody like Calafiori, who has been a rock at left back for Arsenal so far this season. Obviously, worst comes to the worst, you get to this weekend and he doesn't play in that fixture, I would think more than likely after that he will be fine. But all signs point to him playing this weekend. Then finally, Marco Senesi. A lot of people, his ownership's certainly decreased over recent weeks. The clean sheets haven't quite been there for Bournemouth, but he is certainly still hitting DEFCON in the majority of games. And then also those of you stuck with him over the sort of difficult period that Bournemouth have had, again, you will now be rewarded with West Ham United at home. Sunderland away, sure, that'll be a bit difficult, but you've got Everton at home after that. So there's a few good fixtures, certainly in the next 3 games, and I would certainly look to keep Marco Senesi. Just about guarantees your DEFCON points, and there's a lot of clean sheet potential in those upcoming games. So the players to sell then, and up front, I've talked about that small pool of strikers we have to choose from. and most of them are either on a buy list or a hold list. I don't think many of us own anything other than the strikers probably I've mentioned in this video. Maybe Danny Welbeck on top of that. So if we're looking at sells, I would still, if you are still there with Victor Gyökeres, Richarlison potentially, they're both sells for me, even with Gyökeres knocking on the door of a return from his injury. Obviously, yeah, he's been injured, but he wasn't putting up the greatest numbers prior to his injury, so I would certainly look to sell him if you were still holding him. Richarlison, those minutes, the minutes risk, even when he comes off the bench, obviously he has that chance of grabbing a goal, and he did do against Manchester United in the last game, but you can't rely on those bench appearances and those super subs goals week in, week out. That's not going to happen all the time. I would just jump off it, maybe just jump on that template strike force of somebody like I say, Voltemada, Thiago, Mateta, Danny Welbeck, João Pedro and Haaland. I think they're the only strikers that people are really considering. There'll be some very, very differential players sprinkled in, but that's the main strike force that we're all sort of have to choose from at the moment. Then I want to move on to Mohamed Kudus, sort of for different reasons, even though he's still a Tottenham player, but different reasons to sell than Richarlison. There is a little bit of potential for injury there, but it's certainly the fixtures on top of that as well. You've got Arsenal away up next, Fulham, decent fixture, but then you've got Newcastle, and I don't think he's quite put up the numbers we'd all hoped. He's not somebody I completely trusted, and I went off his sort of last season's form. He didn't play too well for West Ham, and he's done okay at Tottenham, don't get me wrong, but it's just not quite at the level maybe that he showed in his first season at West Ham. And like I say, with the potential of this injury, we're not 100% sure he's even going to be fit for the Arsenal game this weekend. Then somebody who appears in this slot quite a lot recently is certainly and still relatively high owned, Tierney Reinders. Again, just doesn't offer enough in attack, does he? He doesn't get those DEFCON points. He's sort of stuck in the middle. I don't think he's a real valid FPL option going forward, and I put my neck on the line and say he's probably not going to be a valid FPL option for the rest of the season. If you're still holding on to him, get rid of him. Even just hold him on your bench until you can get rid of him if you don't have those spare transfers, but certainly a sell for me. Then in defence, Pedro Porro, continuing the Tottenham theme here. I'm just not keen on that Tottenham defence. It's not been fantastic. Pedro Porro certainly hasn't really put up the attacking numbers that we'd hoped, especially for a player in that price tag of around 5.5 million. And because, like I say, Arsenal away is going to be very tough for them. I cannot see a clean sheet there. And then some very difficult fixtures on the horizon with Newcastle away as well. I just don't like having that sort of money tied up in a Tottenham defender, really. Then, obviously, the main reason and the biggest talking point, Gabriel, obviously a sell. Going into it now, we're waiting for Friday for the press conferences, maybe to get more news, but there has been news released today that is more than likely he's going to be out for a month to 2 months. Any confirmation would be helpful on Friday. I'm not sure how much we will get, but everything is pointing now to a relatively mid to longer term layoff for Gabriel, and certainly a long enough layoff for us to have to consider transferring him out and not holding him on our bench for the weeks he is injured. So then going back to it, I'd certainly be looking at those Virgil van Dijk, maybe moving that defender to another Arsenal defender in your team. There's potential as well for maybe downgrading. Maybe you fancy a downgrade, put that money somewhere else, but Gabriel is sort of one of those players that you probably want back when he is fit. But by all accounts, it's going to be a while until he's back again. That's pretty much all the sells for this week. So I really appreciate you sticking around until the end of the video. If you did like the video, helped you in any way, please hit the like button, subscribe if you are new. It really helps the channel. Let me know your transfer plans, or if there's anybody on your radar that I haven't mentioned that you think should be in a position to come into our teams this week. It might help some other people out as well. So I will next see you in the team selection video, where over the next probably 24 hours I'm going to start ironing out my transfer plans and who I'm going to be bringing in. There'll probably be a few, so it certainly will be a video that I would look to tune into. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you do not miss it, and I will see you in that video.